Hello guys, this is Dark Fox Sage 2 and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Had to Choose Between 15 Lovers Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. Naruto, are you sure about this? Iruka asked worriedly, taking a long look at the applications, videotapes, and gifts on the large oak desk. Konohamaru suggested it. I don't understand why all my friends suddenly have the hots for me, but I can't break their hearts. I really think this is the best way. Naruto beamed. Where is this going to take place, Naruto? How much is it going to cost? What if you get hurt? Physically, mentally, what if you ruin your friendish? Iruka began to rant, flailing his arms madly. Iruka-sensei, calm down. A mysterious source is providing a mansion. Can you believe that, Iruka-sensei? A mansion? Who? But what if it's booby-trapped? Sasuke, Neji, and Gaara are going to sustain food and basic needs. And, hello, I'm going to be the heartbreaker here. Not that I'm proud of it, but I just can't see how I'm going to be hurt. And before we start this whole thing, I'll make it clear to my friends that once this is all over, our friendship will remain. I want to find that special someone, Iruka-sensei. Naruto trailed off, now quite somber. Iruka petted his surrogate son's blonde mop of hair. Don't worry, Naruto, you'll find your special person. Now, he said, immediately cheering up in hopes of brightening Naruto's unusually dismal mood, tell me how this whole uke thing works. Naruto grumbled, I still don't understand why I have to be the uke though. The big wooden doors to the secluded office opened and three adorable genins came tumbling out in all their dramatic glory. "'Cause ya look like a girl, Chief. Honestly, who can imagine you on top?" Konohamaru chuckled, Moegi giggled, and Udon sniffed. "Grr. Lil. Brats." Naruto smacked Konohamaru on the back of the head. "I don't even know where you learned those things from." Naruto muttered, "You definitely know more than I did when I was a genin." Iruka stared at his son. Naruto, at age 17, certainly looked different than he did back when he was 12. Now a chunin on the verge of becoming a junin, Naruto's blonde mop of hair became slightly darker, carrying a deep golden tone. His chiseled yet delicate face was lightly tanned, but never too much so. He was slim and petite, yet unmistakably muscled and strong. Deep blue eyes and a heart of pure gold completed the wonderful boy, and he became a target for most of Konoha's teenage population. So much so, that he had to have his own version of the Bachelorette, the Uket one. HMPH. You can call it whatever you like, but don't make the mistake. When this is done and over with, I will be Seam. No you won't. Moegi countered. Damn it, girl, yes I will. Nope. She giggled as his face turned crimson in anger. I don't have time to deal with this crap. Let's start. The 5 shinobi sat around the wooden desk. Okay. I picked out 15 guys, Naruto stated, the group already knowing and accepting that he just swung that way. Though it did break the hearts of many females. Here they are. Uchiha Sasuke, age 18, Junin. Eye color, black. Hair color, black. Criminal record, disloyalty to Konoha, banding with Orochimaru, looting 3 Ika books. Kekkei Genkai, Sharingan of the Uchiha clan. I always knew he had a thing for the Uchiha. Moegi whispered to Udon. Shut up, Naruto yelled. I'm only doing this because he's so persistent. And he's paying for a third of the crap. It'd be wrong to not invite him. Giggle. Giggle sniff. Naruto rolled his eyes. Hyuga Neji, age 19, Anbu. Eye color, lavender, white. Hair color, dark brown, black. Criminal record, breaking and entering Uzumaki household. Kekkei Genkai, Byakugan of the Hyuga clan. He broke into your house. The 4 questioned. He said he came to return something. What? Iruka asked. Ramen. Drool. He borrowed ramen from you. Udon asked skeptically. I don't think so, but he sure did distract me with the miso ramen he brought with him. Next guy, Iruka muttered. Sabuku no Gara, age 17, 5th case. Eye color. Aquamarine. Hair color. Red. Criminal record. Murder, no charges under governing status. Keke Genkai. None, yet unnatural ability to manipulate sand due to being the host of the one-tailed Shukaku. Isn't that the scary, no eyebrow dude? The Kunoichi asked. You know, the one with the retarded brother that we met a few years back. Kankuro was his name. I could have taken that puppet guy on. Konohamaru whispered in Moegi's ear. Sewer. Udon laughed, and sniffed. Naruto, are you sure about this one? Of course. Gaara and I are great friends now. He can also give me tips on the whole cage thing, you know. Next one. All four sighed. Naruto pouted and brought out the folder containing the next man's data. Uruka read no farther than his name before shouting, no. Uruka-sensei, you didn't even read the whole thing. Boy, I said no. Uchiha Itachi, age 22, missing nin. Eye color. Black, red usually. Hair color. Black. Criminal record. Many. First. Assassination of entire Uchiha clan. Most recent. Illegally buying mansion. Mental health is questionable. Keke Genkai. Sharingan of the Uchiha clan. You must have lost your goddamn mind. Uruka stated, glaring at Naruto. But Uruka-sensei, there is no way you can vindicate this one, Naruto. Iru. He's a murderer. He kills people. He's crazy. And you expect me to allow you to live in the same house as him? A big mansion. The one he illegally bought. Juan. Uruka-sensei. He must know every nook and cranny in that house, and he will find you, Naruto. No matter where you hide, he will find you. Uruka. No one will be there to protect you. Who's strong enough to take him on? And you are going to put those two Uchihas in the same house? Child, I have the right mind to use the belt on you right now. But Uruka-sensei. Naruto. There is no way you can justify this one. Naruto smirked and held out the picture of Uchiha Itachi for the group to see. But he's hot. Uruka face faulted. After many debates, shouts, giggles, whispers, arguments, agreements, threats and nosebleeds later. I think we have our men. Konohamaru stated smugly. Yes. Naruto agreed. I believe we do. Konohamaru, Moegi, Udon. The blonde questioned. Would you do the honors? Of course, boss. The three shouted, took the list of selected male names, then opened and exited the heavy office doors. The three genins were greeted by a sea of hopeful-looking men. The Uke has made his decision. Konohamaru called out, his voice resonating deep authority as if he was the trusted messenger of the Almighty King. He ignored the shouts of protest from the other side of the door. Damn it, Konohamaru. I'm a beseem. An immediate silence spread over the crowd of desperate males. The choices of the selected are, the three began. Bated breath. Racing heartbeats. Sweating palms. The men in the crowd were restless, anxious to hear the results. Sasuke Uchiha. Moegi called out. A dark-haired boy smirked. Neji Hyuga. Udon shouted to the crowd. A white-eyed boy chuckled. Sabuku number Gaara and Kankuro. Konohamaru yelled. The light-eyed boy glared heatedly at the quivering in excitement puppeteer. Shikamaru Nara. Choji Akamichi. Shino Aburame. Rock Lee. The genius scoffed. Choji grinned and opened a bag of potato chips in celebration. Shino blinked, and Lee's triumphant dance took out 9 other possible contestants. Maida Guy, Hitaki Kakashi and Asuma Sarutobi. HMPH. Freakin' pedophiles. Konohamaru stared at the celebrating men. Itachi Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka, Sai and Kabuto Yakushi. Udon sighed as he finished off the list. Sasuke was paralyzed in a state of utter shock at the name of his brother, while Itachi smirked oh so sexily. Kiba and Akamaru howled in joy while Sai smiled brightly. Kabuto was already having naughty thoughts and a trail of blood slipped out of his left nostril. I apologize to all the others. There are many fish in the sea. Now hurry up and scat. Moegi yelled, shooing the men away. Except for the chosen 15, I don't want to see anyone else here. As everyone finally made their somber leave, the the 15 men walked up and stood in front of the 3 genins, feeling unnaturally small compared to the 11-year-olds. Here are the directions to the mansion, though I expect one of you already knows the way. Udon glanced at the brooding Itachi. Be there at 7 p.m. tonight. Anyone late will not be allowed into the mansion. Dress to impress. After handing out small flyers of the given directions, the 3 kids bowed and re-entered the office. Did everything go well? Naruto asked. Perfect. The 3 grinned. 7 o'clock came rather quickly as 15 men stood in front of the towering, well-decorated mansion. They smiled as a long black limousine pulled up to greet them. Coming out stood their favorite blonde, in all his righteous, golden glory. There on his right-hand side was Iruka, in a dark suit as Naruto's advisor, while the 3 familiar genins wore familiar bodyguard attire with Konoha's number 1 Uke protection squad, in neon yellow printed on the back of their thick vests. They'll make sure to take care of anyone who gets too unwantedly close to the blonde. Naruto smiled gently at the men and gestured towards the large expensive residence. Shall we enter? This is the 4th closet and yet another bathroom. That ends our tour. Moegi blushed in front of all the men. Thank you, young girl. Your youth-inspiring tour truly made this experience all the more invigorating. Guy beamed. Moegi's sweat dropped. Ah, she began, no probable. Oi, Naruto said that you should all meet him in the entry hall. Konohamaru cut off Moegi as he gestured for all the guys to follow. As the 15 men lined up in the entry hall, they were greeted by a grinning Naruto and an amused Iruka. Ah, you're all here. Naruto beamed at the group of blushing men. Time to give out bedroom arrangements. The men groaned. Does anyone get to share a room with you? Sai called out from the back. Naruto blushed heavily. No, sorry. The shinobi sighed, disappointed. Well, Iruka-sensei, do you wanna help them out with the bedroom arrangements? Of course, Naruto. The scar-nosed Chunin turned to face the group of men. There will be 3 to a room. In bedroom number 1, Iruka glanced at his list, will be Nara Shikamaru, Rock Lee, and Inazuka Kiba. Shikamaru's confessional. Out of the entire group, I get the 2 most hyperactive retards. Can you believe that? What troublesome bullshit. At least I'm not sharing a room with Guy-sensei. Bedroom 2. Uchiha Sasuke, Hyuga Neji, and Sai. Sasuke confessional. I share a room with my top 2 rivals for Naruto's heart, Sai and Hyuga. And then I find out my brother is in the competition. If I don't win this, I'm a Chidori-size balls, Naruto. Believe it. Sasuke, Neji and Sai were glaring heatedly at each other, but Iruka ignored them and continued with the next room. In bedroom number 3 will be Aburame Shino, Sabaku no Gara, and Kankuro. Kankuro's confessional. Is this a joke to them? They set me up with my psychotic brother, who hates me even more now because I'm trying to steal his mate, and the dude who's still pissed at me for quitting at the Chunin exams during our match. Is Naruto worth that? Thinks of Naruto's ass, yeah, definitely worth it. Definitely. Oh shit. Nosebleed. Bedroom 4. Iruka glanced once again at his sheet of paper attached to a clipboard. Uchiha Itachi, Yakushi Kabuto, and Iruka chuckled, Akamaiki Choji. The group tried their hardest, using all the ninja training to bite back their laughter by glancing at random objects in the large hall while sending pity looks towards Choji. Sai wasn't even trying. He rolled on the floor, giggling his ass off, and was only able to catch his breath while taking long, dramatic gasps. Choji, enraged at Sai's lack of pity and sympathy, kicked the giggling boy hard in his exposed stomach. Ha ha ha, ouch. He began rolling around on the floor in pain. Choji uncharacteristically smirked. Okay. Naruto chuckled a bit at their antics. Please continue, Iruka-sensei. Right. And the last inhabitants for bedroom 5 are Hatake Kakashi, Maeda Guy and Sarutobi Asuma. Guy's confessional. Ha ha ha, I am teamed up with my eternal rival, Kakashi. I must compete with him for the affections of, what was his name? Sweat drops, the blonde boy. Ha ha ha. Get to your rooms but meet us at the dining hall in 35 minutes. Naruto will then get some personal time with all of you and decide who leaves. Iruka stated, amused at their shocked expressions. We just got here and already somebody is leaving after dinner. Then what's the point of unpacking? Kiba questioned. Well, if you are truly confident that you are the one for me, Naruto began, then you can unpack with no thoughts of having to leave tonight. If you think you are already going home, don't bother unpacking, come to dinner, and wait to get eliminated. Naruto's confessional. Yeah, I can be philosophical like that. Good enough for me, Dobi. Sasuke said, taking his suitcase and marching up the stairs. The other 14 followed. Damn, Iruka-sensei. This'll be fun. Naruto gave his famous grin, promising mischief. In bedroom 1, TCH, how troublesome. Shikamaru muttered, slowly unpacking his luggage. Nara, if you say that, word around me again. Kiba left the thread in the air. Akamaru, who Kiba just pulled out from underneath his jacket, growled at the genius. Wow. Shikamaru scoffed in mock astonishment, rolling his eyes and gesturing towards Kiba, this one knows his alphabet. Grr. Kiba and Akamaru growled simultaneously. Lee sighed, deciding that in bedroom 1, he would be the peacemaker, a role that he played out all too well in life. In bedroom 2, glare, glare, glare. In bedroom 3. Oh okay. Kankuro stuttered, I'm just gonna make myself comfortable right here. He stuttered, slowly taking a seat on the bed, conveniently closest to the door. No. Gaara said, glaring at Kankuro, that's my bed. Oh of course, Gaara. I'll just sit over here, he said, bowing an apology to his younger brother and moving to the bed on the opposite side of the room, near the window. He was roughly shoved to the floor by an irate bug lover. Kankuro gazed up at Shino, in shock at the stoic teen's rude behavior. I stay by the window, he said in a dull, monotone voice. I need the fresh air if I'll be staying in a room with you. Sure. Kankuro stuttered again, and moved to the only bed left. Right in between the two boys. Kankuro's confessional. Damn it all. He wearily lied down on the bed, sighing as the warm blankets overrode his fear-filled nightmares of Suna desert sand and vicious chakra-sucking insects. In bedroom 4, Kabuto. Itachi asked, packing away his underwear. Where is the fat ass? The said boy shrugged, I dunno. I heard he was making dinner. For us all. The eldest Uchiha asked, glancing at the medic Nin. Yeah. Kabuto shrugged again. I guess. His food will make me gain horridly. Flabby love handles on my perfectly sculpted, heavenly hips. Kabuto sighed and rolled his eyes. Kabuto's confessional. Honestly, we all know the man is fucking gorgeous. No one's denying that, but, damn it, does he have to remind us every minute of every day? As if we don't feel self-conscious enough already. I mean, he is bunking with a porky pig in me. What's that you got there? Itachi asked, turning away from his daily, mirror posing, and putting back on his dark shirt, to look at vial in Kabuto's hands. Oh, this. Kabuto chuckled shyly. My medication. If I don't take some, I'll be snoring like a grizzly bear all night. Well then, you better not forget to down it. I better not lose my beauty sleep because of your roaring racket. If all goes well, damn it, I might wake up looking better than I do now. Itachi then refaced the mirror to practice his sexy smirks. You can look better than you do now. Kabuto wondered idly. Itachi wondered. Probably not. But it never hurts to try. Kabuto's confessional. I hate him. In bedroom 5. Dia think Naruto is into older guys? Kakashi wondered aloud. Age does not matter. Dear eternal rival, Hitaki Kakashi, as long as the blazing fire of youth continues to burn vibrantly in our youthful souls. Guy beamed. He is into that elder Uchiha though. Kakashi wondered again, seemingly ignoring Guy. The elder Uchiha that destroyed his clan in a single night. Well, it does not matter. I will work 10 times harder than my eternal rival, Hitaki Kakashi, to protect this blonde boy, and prove my undying, and ever so youthful love to him. Guy pumped a fist into the air. Yeah, but did you see Itachi? Asuma asked Kakashi, tapping his chin in wonderment. He looks 10 times better than all of us put together. No wonder he has to wear a cloak that covers half of his face. If not, the fangirls would rip him apart, unrivaled ninja skills or not. But our wistful and youthful personalities can surely overpower the cold shell of the broody Itachi Uchi, Guy began loudly, but was cut off. Yeah, Asuma, Kakashi sighed dejectedly. I heard from Iruka that Naruto picked Itachi without even reading his background, only seeing his picture. Yet surely, Guy was once again cut off by the depressed men. Should we show Naruto what a horrible person Itachi really is? Asuma asked the copycat nin inquisitively. Fellow comrades. Again, cut off. Poor Guy. No. Naruto's bright, though you could hardly tell, and if Itachi is truly the man we all know him to be, Naruto will step in and eliminate Itachi like I know he will. Kakashi said, immediately brightening up at the thought. Guy's sweat dropped and face faulted all too dramatically, catching the attention of his two roommates. Silence. Sorry, Guy, did you say something? Kakashi asked, raising a silver eyebrow that became instantly hidden beneath his leaf-engraved head protector. The ego-damaged, abusedly neglected taijutsu master face faulted and sweat dropped again, tenfold. Half an hour later, all 15 men were gathered around the large dining table as well as the uke, the advisor, and of course, Konoha's number 1 uke protection squad. Can't let the uke out of their sight now, could they? As the guests took their seats, Choji, along with many chefs and servants, came harboring plates and plates of hot, steaming food. A different dish was placed in front of all the guests. Choji took his seat and grinned proudly as the men, and Moegi, began to munch happily on their dinner. MPHWU, F. Kwugi. G. Very GWYAUMMY. Naruto smiled as best as he could with barbecue ribs jutting out of his mouth. Iruka, who has been on many ramen dates with Naruto and already a qualified expert at what was officially dubbed Naruto food talk, took the liberty to translate. Wow, Choji, very yummy. Iruka translated the blonde's incomprehensible speech. He then talked to Choji on his own accord. Naruto barely ever eats anything other than ramen. I don't know how you did it, but this is definitely earning some extra points for you. Choji smirked. Shikamaru, who was sitting conveniently next to his overweight best friend, turned towards the obviously proud boy. Why'd you decide to make something troublesome and messy for Naruto like? He shuddered as Naruto took another sloppy bite from the coated barbecue ribs. Choji turned his sadistic smirk towards his best friend. Shikamaru, Shikamaru, Shikamaru. He shook his head in mock disappointment. And here they call you intelligent. He then grinned. A man's brain capacity isn't merely judged by a biased IQ test. Shikamaru, shocked by his friend's mature behavior and utter eloquent vocabulary, could only listen. Creating a culinary dish other than ramen is only able to get me more brownie points than the rest of you slackers. It's only so obvious that I can please him in all areas. Bigger is better, as they say. Anyways, I don't recall your troublesome ass, or any of theirs. The plump boy glanced around at the 13 other seams, doing something for the blonde. And besides all that, I still get a great dessert. Choji said, eyes twinkling mischievously as he leered at the oblivious blonde. Naruto, finished with his meal, began slowly and languidly licking the brown barbecue sauce off his fingers in an unbelievably suggestive way, but once his hands were spit-shine clean, literally, he looked at his guests only to find them unconscious in a pool of blood and drool. A sad sight indeed. Once all 15 men recovered, they were led into a large intricately decorated round room that could not easily be mistaken with another. The elimination room. There, on a red table-clothed desk on the right side of the uke, were 14 laid-out ramen cups, standing tall in all their styrofoam glory. Iruka's confessional. We asked him, begged him, to choose something more romantic. Roses, chocolate, teddy bears, Shakes head, freakin' ramen cups. Ah. Naruto sighed. I'm sad to see someone leave, but it's necessary. I need to get these contestants narrowed down as soon as possible. Yet remember what you all promised me. Once this is over with, we'll still be friends, got it? When the men nodded their confirmation, the blonde continued. Good. Let's see here, the first cup shall be handed to. Pause. Hyuga Neji. The Byakugan user smirked, coming to greet the blonde and roughly hitting Sasuke and Sai in the shoulder on his way to him. They glared molten holes in his back, but his sneer wavered not once as he kissed the blonde hand gently and accepted the cup that had his name, surprisingly, printed intricately in golden thread at the bottom base of the cup. As he walked back to his previous position, he was so caught up in the joy of his name being called first that he barely heard the Choji Akamichi leak from the blonde's pink lips. Sai's confessional. Hell, no, he did not pick that tub of nasty ass lard before me. Choji accepted the ramen cup, smirking cruelly at Shikamaru the entire time. They might be friends, but this was a competition, and he has to take down everyone that got in his way. Uchiha Itachi. The blonde blushed when the crimson eyes looked his way. The man slowly sauntered, thanks Chibi Strawberry, towards the Kyuubi vessel, grabbed the cup in one hand and Naruto's cheek with the other. He slowly bent down and whispered something into the blonde's ear that had the former blushing so brilliantly he could rival the color of the Uchiha's Sharingan. Maybe later, Itachi, MK. Blush. Uchiha Sasuke. The blonde called the next name after quickly gathering his wits. The younger Uchiha grumbled as he made his way towards Naruto. Sasuke's confessional. Damn it, why does Itachi get all my ukes? Am I not hot, mysterious, and broodingly sexy? Damn you, Itachi, I can make Naruto blush too. As Sasuke accepted his cup, he bent down and whispered the dirtiest thing his poor anger-coated brain could think of. Naruto blinked, and blinked, and blinked one more time. Then disgust morphed his usually carefree features into a gruesome scowl as he roughly pushed the Uchiha away, muttering how he was a horrible eki hentai and that if he even tries that shit with him, he will get his poor ass eliminated so fast he'll be suffering the whiplash for weeks. Sasuke, angrier now more than ever, passed a happily smirking Sai and Neji to return to his original post. He glared at Itachi, and became even more irate when he saw Itachi mouth the words, "It's all in the tone. You lack the Uchiha's infamous sexy tone, little brother." Naruto, still glaring at Sasuke, who was still glaring at Itachi, decided to continue. Aburame Shino. The bug user collected his cup without sparing a glance at anyone but the blonde. Nara Shikamaru. The genius muttered a quick, troublesome, before retrieving his cup as well. And the cups were slowly disappearing, as Kakashi, Rock Lee, Asuma, Kiba, Sai, Gaara, and Kankuro were selected. And that meant only 2 seams and 1 ramen cup remained. Guy and Kabuto nervously waited for the Yuke's final decision. The name of the chosen lay on the bottom base of the final ramen cup. The future departer only known by 3 genins, a fatherly advisor, and a blonde uke. As Naruto was about to call out the final name and lift the cup, his knees buckled. Many gasps echoed through the group of men, but Naruto quickly stuttered an, "I'm fine," before preparing to continue. That was, until he felt a searing pain in his head. He dropped the cup and it rolled under the hidden confinements of the crimson-draped table. He pulled at his hair, before a searing white-hot pain collided with his forehead and his world went black. Before the group could even grasp what happened, much less help the blonde, his eyes snapped open and his cerulean orbs resembled 2 cloudy blue crystal balls. He suddenly stood up rigidly and walked as if he was the living dead. To say the least, everyone was quite freaked out. Naruto then lunged and latched onto Kabuto, kissing him senseless. Sasuke, recovering from the shock first, immediately went over to pull Kabuto off of his precious about-to-be-raped Naruto. He was obviously in denial that it was Naruto doing the molesting, when he was stopped by a pale hand. He followed it up to glare at no other than Itachi. Let me take care of this, little brother. I don't see how yet, but I'm sure you will find a way to screw this up. I, however, already found the solution to this. He glanced down at the snogging couple. Horrible, horrible mishap. Itachi picked Naruto effortlessly off of Kabuto, and kicked the gray-haired teen in the stomach. Naruto, Itachi began, was drugged with a very powerful, illegal aphrodisiac. It is a clear, odorless liquid that can easily be placed and undetected in, more or less, any food or drink. The aphrodisiac is very near irresistible. I know from personal experience thanks to, he shuddered, many fangirls. This rat, another kick in the gut for Kabuto, must have snuck into the kitchen and drugged the barbecue sauce for Naruto's ribs. Choji blushed and Shikamaru smirked. Shikamaru's confessional. Not so high and mighty are you now, big guy. Wait, Sai interrupted, in hopes of making the elder Uchiha look bad. If you figured all of this out, how do you know it was Kabuto who put it in the food? It could be someone else. You could have drugged him yourself, rescued him, and explain all this crap, just to make yourself look good. Sai nodded, proud of his defense. Itachi rolled his eyes. I bunk with Kabuto. I know these things. He sighed. Let me explain. Flashback. In bedroom 4. What's that you got there? Itachi asked, turning away from his daily mirror posing, and putting back on his dark shirt, to look at vial in Kabuto's hands. Oh, this. Kabuto chuckled shyly. My medication. If I don't take some, I'll be snoring like a grizzly bear all night. Flashback end. I, technically owning the mansion, was able to get onto the internet and do some quick research before dinner. Flashback. Itachi shifted the wire-rimmed glasses on his nose awkwardly as he stared at the computer screen. I was right, Itachi smirked. That's no sleep medication. Looking here. He trailed off as he scrolled down a list of alliances with Orochimaru, wincing inwardly at his brother's name, and saw that indeed, Kabuto was a perfectly well sleeper. As well as a top-rated drug brewer. He clicked a link to reveal more of Kabuto's self-made drugs. Idiotically, there was a large picture of a very familiar colorless drug that made large profits in the black market, most sellings going to Uchiha fangirls. Right next to it was a recipe for the antidote. Flashback end. And so, I have this. He showed the seams a vial of a crimson-colored fluid, the antidote, and slipped the entire contents into the wailing blonde's mouth. He then raised a single black painted fingernail in the air and called out, Konoha's number 1 Uke protection squad. His soft dark hair cast an ominous shadow over his eyes, only to have his head shoot back upward, crimson irises flashing dangerously as he gracefully brought his finger down onto the currently squirming in pain Kabuto. Go. The 3 genins, previously surprised that such a high-ranking ninja would put so much faith in them with a loyal subordinate to Orochimaru, quickly abandoned their state of shock to smirk coyly. We have the perfect weapon. Konohamaru stated in utmost confidence. Smirk. Sniff. Moegi quickly went to retrieve a black leather suitcase. Within the leather suitcase was a dark red box. Within the dark red box was a smaller green box. Within the smaller green box was an orange nylon bag. And 25 protective, secretive cases later, the 3 kids came upon a light brown envelope. We must ask. Sniff. That all seems. Sniff. Please turn around. Sniff. In order to protect one's. Sniff. Sniff. Vital blood supply. Udon finished. With a final sniff. Uruka's confessional. We really need to get Udon something to take care of that runny nose. The Seams looked at the 11-year-old skeptically. Who is he to boss them around? They can tear him limb from limb. Itachi, who was already turned around, and seemingly predicting the other men's thoughts, called to the men coldly. The boys said, turn around. Without hesitance, all 15 men, including Uruka, can never be too careful, turned around. Moegi, the only one in the residence fully qualified to establish the ultimate weapon, opened the envelope and placed the photo in plain view of the quite curious Kabuto. Kabuto, feeling the blood pressure in his head become far too unbearable, sent a shooting waterfall of warm red blood spurting out of his nose, sending him 20 feet across the room and hitting the far right wall. Slumping to the ground, ivory pieces of plaster followed him down as large faults cracked the wall from the forceful impact. Moegi, under qualified training, swiftly put the photo back into its many confinements, before the seams could even turn around to take a peek at the horrible incident. But when they did turn around, it would be an understatement to say they were shocked to find an unconscious Kabuto, a wide crimson trail of blood, and 3 genins posing Charlie's Angel style. Never mess with Konoha's number 1 Uke protection squad, if you're not able to handle the consequences. They chanted, out of what one could bet, many days of practice. The room was silent until a cheering Guy and Lee broke the uncomfortable quiet. Yay! Woot! Never underestimate the power of youth. Guy cheered. Their utmost vitality and heroic efforts to save their precious Naruto never ceases to amaze me. Lee cried. The crowd, ignoring them, opted instead to let their gazes follow Itachi as he carried Naruto up to his quarters. Iruka was tempted to make the Uke squad follow him, yet seeing how they were basking in the praise Lee and Guy were pouring onto them, he chose to do so himself. Ah, Guy-sensei, do you know what this means? Lee asked in wonderment, tears threatening to spill out. Yes, dear prodigy, it means that I will not be eliminated. He cheered as medic Nins carried the unconscious Kabuto away. It was quite obvious he would be hospitalized for the rest of the competition. Konohamaru, Moegi, and Udon left through the double doors. The seams were alone with their thoughts. Asuma, who hasn't said much, broke the silence. I wonder what was with the photo. Suddenly, Konohamaru's head poked back through the doors, a naked picture of a soaking, wet Naruto. Don't force us to use it on you. He left just as quickly. The group shuddered at the thought of how much blood the photo would be able to steal, and made sure to never underestimate the genins again. Hee. Well, Guy yawned, I shall be retiring to my room. I bid you all farewell, he bowed, and sweet dreams. Just as he was about to make his departure to his bedroom, Konohamaru's head poked back out through the heavy doors. No, actually, he sighed and showed the final cup to the group of men, including Guy-sensei, who was shocked to see Kabuto's name instead of his. You're still eliminated. So, you have to go. And with that Konohamaru left for his final departure of the night, abandoning the 2 taijutsu masters to their tears. Later in bedroom 2, 3 dark-haired men lay flat on their beds, tired, after a rather intense glaring match. Itachi is definitely the Kitsune's favorite now. Sai mumbled wearily. Yeah, do you think this whole thing is just a huge illusion? A twisted genjutsu manifested by his Mangekyo Sharingan. Neji wondered idly aloud. Pause. Baited silence. That definitely seems like something Aniki would do, just to feel better about himself. Sasuke sneered. Naruto sat up and stretched. He yawned and glanced at the digital clock at the side of his bed. 9:34 a.m. Nah, I think I'll go back to sleep. As he was ready to cuddle back into the thick plush blankets, a strong arm grabbed him by the waist and pulled him right back down to the bed and against a lean, hard body. Naruto, who was scared shitless and more than ready to scream his lungs out, instead opted to use his common sense for once and he quietly turned around to look at his bedmate. To say he was surprised is a major understatement, because snoozing in his bed like there was no tomorrow, was Uchiha Itachi. Naruto gazed at the sleeping Uchiha. Ah, he looks kind of cute right now. You know, not like a crazy kin-murdering psycho. How adorable. Just as the blonde was prepared to go into a kawaii rant, a horrible thought struck him. Oh, my God, we didn't, do it, did we? Fuck, I was saving that for the winner of this competition. Wait, he took me when I was intoxicated. Who cares how hot he is? I have the right mind to wake everyone in the house, start an elimination ceremony, and get his ass out right now. Naruto, in a sudden stroke of brilliance, decided to actually confirm his thoughts before rousing the entire house and proclaiming false rumors, about himself, no less. He slowly lifted up the sheets of the blanket and gazed down at two, fully clothed bodies. He sighed. Naruto's confessional. To tell you the truth, sometimes I'm even shocked by my own stupidity. He slid out of bed gingerly, all the while ignoring the unconscious arm that was blindly trying to grab onto him, or anything warm. He went to the bathroom, did his daily grooming, quickly changed out of his pajamas, and went downstairs to the mansion's dining hall. He was greeted by 13 feasting men. He smiled. Naruto's confessional. It's like one big giant sleepover. Except everyone here wants to get in my pants. Naruto sat at the head of the large table again, and smiled warmly at all the Ohio and good morning that greeted him. He quickly began to chow down on his daily breakfast of ramen and milk before being interrupted by Kiba. Dude, that's so not healthy, the Inu pointed out observantly. Well, I'm not fat so it's healthy enough, Naruto replied offhandedly. But it's not a breakfast, Kiba countered back. Udon listened to the conversation intently. It's good to know someone is looking out for Naruto's health. The blonde'll need someone to take care of him and make sure he stays healthy. Kiba seems firm enough to do just that. He makes a mental note to bring this rewarding characteristic up when discussing eliminations tonight. Of course it's breakfast. Are you blind? At Kiba's blank look, the blonde continued. Look, he said, chopsticks dipping into the broth. Here's some eggs. The same thing that's on your plate, nay. Kiba blinked. And here's some pork. Naruto showed the boy the meat. Just like the bacon on your plate, too. Kiba blinked again. What about my toast? Kiba questioned. Naruto blinked. What kind of square eats toast? Naruto laughed. The men, at hearing this comment, quickly hid their half-eaten bread from the blonde's view. Kiba nodded and continued with his meal. The rest of breakfast went on uneventfully, save for the few arguments of, who deserves Naruto, and, which is better, orange or apple juice. Choji, who was unusually silent, decided to speak up a bit. Hey Naruto, where's Itachi? At the question, the entire room focused their attention towards the blonde. Choji's confessional. Scowl. Itachi went to take the blonde to his room after he passed out last night, but I don't recall him returning. Naruto, known to never think before speaking, was ready to truthfully reply, in my bedroom, of course. But, he quickly steadied himself before he could sprout out the entire sentence, and instead opted for stuttering. The men gave each other weary glances. Itachi, Kakashi mused. Well, isn't he your roommate? How are you not to know where he is? Simple, Kakashi-san, Choji replied, once again, eloquently. After he took Naruto to his room, he didn't return to our quarters. Is it wrong of me to be suspicious? The seam's attention returned to the blonde. Itachi, why would you, need to know where he is? Naruto, Sai began, what are you? But he never got to finish his sentence as Iruka quickly ran into the room breathless, calendar in hand. Iruka-sensei. Naruto beamed. Ohio. He greeted, unaware of the panic on his ex-sensei's face. Naruto. Uke squad. We need to talk right now. Iruka panted. Looking slightly worried, the four nins left the room and bowed in apology to the dining men. What is it, Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked hurriedly, as soon as they stepped into the private meeting room of the Uke, advisor, and squad. Look. He pointed to the calendar on the day's date, September 19th. So what? Udon asked. Now look at these two dates. Iruka pointed to the two dates and Naruto gasped. September 15th and September 22nd. Oh fuck. How could he forget? What is it, Uke, sir? Konohamaru asked, intrigued. Damn it, Konohamaru. Seem, not Uke. If you're gonna learn naughty words, get 'em right, you little twerp. Naruto huffed and smacked the 11-year-old on the head, momentarily forgetting his previous panic. But the dates? He questioned again. Naruto's face fell. What kind of friend am I? How could I forget Kakashi-sensei's and Shikamaru's birthday? Naruto re-entered the dining hall with a huge grin on his face. Itachi, who decided to wake up a few minutes ago, smirked at the sight. Itachi's confessional. I doubt Naruto told anything to the other men of my sleeping arrangements last night. But I have a feeling they already know. The eldest Uchiha ignored the death glares and whispered threats being thrown at him. Naruto. Sai beamed, "You're back." Naruto nodded. "Did you decide what we're going to do today?" Sasuke questioned. "Well, kinda." Naruto grinned again. "Well," Rock Lee asked, "what task shall we need to complete to prove our undying loyalty to you?" The taijutsu master asked ever so youthfully. Naruto winced. "Actually, I wanted to celebrate something." "What?" Gaara asked. A formidable feeling in his gut let him know that this won't be exactly good news. Naruto brightened up again. "Kaka's and Shika's birthday, of course." Silence. "You wanna celebrate our birthdays?" Shikamaru questioned. Naruto nodded perkily. "So, how are we gonna celebrate it, Naru-chan?" Kakashi smirked evilly under his mask, all the while leering at the blonde. Naruto, squirming a bit under his old sensei's gaze, yet nonetheless replied, "I'ma take you both out on a date. We'll be spending the entire day together." Kakashi and Shikamaru smirked. "What about us? What are we going to do while you're on you little dates?" Neji asked, not bothering to hide his jealousy. At this Iruka spoke up. "You're going to continue on as you usually do. But be on your best behavior, because he addressed himself and the Uke squad, shall be watching." At this the men looked queasy. After last night, they didn't feel entirely comfortable in the Genin's presence. Naruto, ignoring the seam's discomfort, continued on, "Well, you seem to be done eating, and I'm bored, so let's start a date now." "No problem." Kakashi stood up from his meal, "I'll go first." "No you won't, old man." Shikamaru countered, pulling on the Junin's arm and forcing him back into the seat. "I'm going first." As the two nins bickered, Naruto came to a solution. "Tic-tac-toe." "The fuck? Tic-tac-toe?" the two asked in unison. The blonde pouted a pout that made all the seams in the room want to rape him. "Well, if you don't like my idea." He sniffled. But the two men already had a pen and paper out and were beginning the game. Konohamaru chuckled. "He's such an uke." Naruto, hearing this, abruptly turned away from the dueling men. Konohamaru. Unsurprisingly, Shikamaru won the challenge, 17 times in a row. "So Shika, where'd ya wanna go?" the blonde asked the lazy teen as they stepped out of the mansion and squinted as they met the harsh, golden rays of day. The said boy shrugged, "Anywhere you wanna go." Naruto was confused. Iruka said it was polite when going on a date to ask your partner where they wanted to go instead of immediately choosing his favorite place. Ichiraku. Naruto decided to pick some place untroublesome. "I heard there's this new restaurant near the academy. Wanna go?" the blonde suggested. The nin raised an eyebrow at the blonde's choice. "No Ichiraku." He pondered before shrugging and branding the thoughts as troublesome. He headed off towards the academy and the blonde followed happily. "Ouch. Ow. Ouch. Ow." Naruto muttered and rubbed his abused head. Naruto and Shikamaru were offered the only table available on such a busy day, the worst table in the entire joint. Who in their right minds would put a table here, of all places? Shikamaru and Naruto's table was located in the corner of the room, smack dab in the middle of the two doors leading to the bathroom and the kitchen. Shikamaru sat on the side of the table where the door to the kitchen would continually open, and bang him on the head, as waiters and waitresses exited and entered frequently and hurriedly. Naruto sat on the side of the table where the customers would continually go to the bathroom and the door would, just as Shikamaru's door did, hit him in the back of the head every time it was opened. "Gosh, thump, when will our food get here?" Naruto asked impatiently. "TCH. Naruto. Thump, you're so troublesome," the dark-haired nin muttered, drumming his fingers along the edge of the table. "HMPH, the blonde pouted, "if I am so trouble, thump." You should have just stayed at home and never entered this competition. You know, I was most curious, Thump, as to why you were here, anyway. The blonde turned his head away from the other boy's lazy, yet observant, gaze. His feelings were obviously hurt. Shikamaru sighed. Naruto, you are troublesome. Thump. But a good kind of troublesome. Naruto raised a golden eyebrow in confusion. A good kind of troublesome? He questioned. By now, the boys were so into their conversation, they ignored the vicious hits to the head given to them by customers and employees alike. In case you haven't noticed, the brunette began, I consider everything troublesome. Even things that aren't remotely troublesome. So, I needed a way to distinguish the good kind of troublesome from the bad kind of troublesome. Naruto listened on, intrigued. Bad kinds of troublesome, the nin continued, are things that I have to put effort into, even when I get no, or very little reward in return. Like cleaning dishes when my mom could obviously do it. He trailed off, obviously enraptured in his own thoughts. Oh, I get it. So then, good troublesome is. Naruto waited for the answer. Good troublesome is when I put in effort, but my outcome is equal to or greater than the effort exerted. Oh, Naruto brightened up, his hurt immediately washing away, and I'm the good troublesome. The other boy nodded. Naruto frowned a bit again, and that means. The genius face faltered. It means, Shikamaru began again, that no matter what effort I into this competition, you will always be worth it. The boy sighed exasperatedly. Shikamaru's confessional. Geez, so troublesome. Naruto put on a teary pout. Really? The blonde asked. Really? The opposite boy confirmed. Just as Naruto was ready to glomp the lazy nin to the floor, their food came. Here you are. I hope you will enjoy. A man with a long mustache and a thick accent placed the food in front of the two boys. The blonde then recalled the waiter as being extremely rude to him earlier and was suspicious of his intentions. He glanced at the two doors labeled bathroom and kitchen. We could, but that all depends which door you came out of, he said, glaring suspiciously at his chocolate mousse. That's gonna cause an ant problem. Udon trailed off as he stared at the large screen picturing Choji stashing sweets, chips, and other unhealthy varieties of food into his sock drawer. The four nins resided in a large dark control room, decked out in panels and many complicated buttons. But the biggest object in the room was undoubtedly the large flat screen that was connected to surveillance cameras littered throughout the mansion. This is so boring. I thought spying on these guys was going to be fun. Konohamaru whined. The other two children nodded their head in agreement. Oh, stop sulking. It's not that boring. I'm sure we can get some juicy dirt here somewhere. Uruka trailed off as he flipped through the channels of each room. Kakashi was getting ready for his date with the blonde later on. Rock Lee was practicing taijutsu. Kiba and Akamaru were sneaking into Choji's room to steal some snacks as the heavy boy slept soundlessly on his bed. Gaara and Shino were bullying Kankuro. And the rest of the men were placing large bets on who would win the glaring contest, Sasuke or Neji, as Sai sat back and drew penises. All seems as normal and dull as always. Wait, Udon pointed out. Where's Itachi? The others stared at her surprised, but Uruka quickly went through the room's cameras and no Itachi was to be found. Do you think he could have rigged his camera? Moegi asked. But I thought he didn't know about this room. Udon sniffed. Uura. This is so confusing. Isn't he supposed to be bunking with Choji? Konohamaru exclaimed frustrated. Uruka sighed. Where is Itachi? Wow. Shikamaru. I had a great time, except for that waiter. Naruto recalled. Shikamaru chuckled. I had fun too, Naruto. They both stood outside the mansion's large front doors. Shikamaru bravely leaned down and pressed his lips against Naruto's. The kiss was short yet sweet. When they broke apart, Naruto giggled, looked down, and blushed. Ha, happy birthday, Shikamaru. Naruto stuttered, embarrassed. Shikamaru's confessional. Score. And it was a very good one, thanks to you, Naruto. Shikamaru kissed his cheek, before disappearing into the house. Naruto, who was still basking in the afterglow of his first kiss during the competition, and waited uncharacteristically patiently for Kakashi to come outside. Naruto's confessional. Damn sensei. Always late. Kakashi took one last look in the mirror, shrugged, and went outside to greet Naruto. You're late, Naruto said dully. Fashionably late. The Junin beamed. Naruto stared at his sensei. Looks the same to me. He inwardly shrugged. Okay, let's go. He cheered, pumping a fist into the air. Kakashi chuckled. Where'd ya wanna go? The blonde questioned. This time, the blonde was secretly hoping the Junin would say he didn't care, because even though he just had lunch with Shikamaru, he had a serious need for Ichiraku's at that moment. Yet, luck was not on the Kitsune's side as Kakashi grabbed his hand and dragged him across town to the place where he had been dying to go all year. Moegi, Konohamaru asked unsurely, do you think you can do this? Who else can? She asked, smirking, holding her equipment in her hand. She was right. Konohamaru was too hyper, Iruka was too big, and Udon's nose was too noisy. And only a girl can get this right. Okay. Iruka ruffled her hair playfully. Good luck. And I'll make sure you get some extra credit points for stealth and bravery, if you succeed, that is. Of course I'll succeed. She huffed, offended. Have a little faith in me, please. She asked, annoyed. The guys nodded offhandedly and she walked out of the secret control room. Now, she sighed, to find that Itachi, Kakashi, Naruto began, no longer using the sensei suffix, seeing as they were on a date. I can't believe you brought me here. Oh, but Naruto, Kakashi pouted, at least the blonde thought he did, the masks covers all, as he picked his selected item off a shelf. I've been dying to go here for ages. If you look around, I'm sure you will find something that you like. Naruto glanced boredly around the massive room with endless hallways and doors. It was like a huge complicated maze that only the most experienced, such as his date, would be able to navigate through easily and comprehensibly. The 22nd Annual Ika Ika Paradise Comic Convention. Kakashi. The blonde whined. This is so boring. How is it boring, Naruto? There's tons of sections here that you should look around. But, the blonde began. Look, the silver-haired man pointed towards a section packed with many teenage boys and rough-looking girls. There's the shoujo Yuri section. I don't want to. And there. He pointed to another section filled with an endless variety of people. As the heterosexual section. Though I can understand if you don't want to go over there. Het is so boring and overrated in my opinion. Naruto tried to interrupt again, but his efforts were in vain. And the threesome orgy section. Yummy. Naruto swore he saw the Junin's eyes glaze over, and as that drool wetting his mask. And I may never understand why you wouldn't like the shonen yaoi section. The man muttered as the most popular section was surrounded by girls, of all ages, with massive nosebleeds and high-pitched squeals. Naruto sighed. This is the only place where I truly feel at home. Kakashi smiled. Oi, Kaka-sensei, Naruto suddenly exclaimed, and pointed to a mob of people hounding an old white-haired man. It's the man of the hour. Jiraiya. A deep voice boomed over the intercom. Come on. Naruto grabbed his sensei's hand. Let's go greet Jiraiya-sensei. Kakashi couldn't help but smile at the blonde's cheerfulness. I knew he'd get into it sooner or later. Moegi carefully tiptoed to the only room she didn't check. Unsurprisingly, the door was slightly ajar and light was slipping from the room into the dark hallway. This was just like those scenes in those horror movies she watched, where the stupid girl enters the room where certain death awaits. And yet, driven by pure curiosity, she continued to trek further towards the mysterious room anyway. She had to hold in a startled gasp as she saw Itachi, shirtless and staring at himself in a ridiculously large mirror while posing and making unbelievably self-centered comments. Ooh, so sexy. Pout. Itachi. Pout. Much finer than Sasuke. So much finer. She would have had a nosebleed, but such narcissist comments were a turn off. Yet, she then got an idea. Quietly slipping into the room, She was glad that the Uchiha didn't notice. And she doubted that he would, seeing as he was so enraptured with himself. She planted cameras in 2 corners of the room, installed necessary equipment, and quietly slipped back out. She smirked to herself as she opened the steel door to the control room to where the 3 guys were waiting anxiously. Uruka immediately turned to greet her. Did you find him? Were you able to hook up the cameras? I still don't see him here. Did you get caught? Did he hurt you? Threaten you? Uruka rambled on. He was always so overprotective when it came to one of his students. He treated them all like his children. I think it's no problem. You missed it, but Itachi put a note on the desk in his room with Choji saying that he was going for a walk. He'll be back in his room by tonight. I already threw the note away so you don't have to bother looking for it. Oh, the boys said in unison, feeling stupid about not thinking about it before. Well, Moegi sighed dramatically and feigned weariness. I'm so tired. I'll just retire to my room, okay? The men nodded and Moegi took her leave. As she closed the hidden metal door again and walked back to her room, she couldn't help but smirk at her self-proclaimed genius. When she was hooking up the cameras, she made sure that they were not visible to the group in the control room, but she could view them personally when she'll come to collect the tapes every week. Those tapes could be used as blackmail, if he ever hurts Naruto. Moegi's confessional. It's always smart to have a trump card, Uruka would tell me. I'm just following his advice. She'll see what she can do with those tapes once the competition is over. Wow, Kakashi. I had a great time. And I'm full. Thank you for treating me to Ichiraku's. You even paid. The blonde beamed. Kakashi decided to take the blonde out to his favorite restaurant after his stomach began to growl pretty loudly. No problem. The man smiled, hoisting up the 5 bags of Ika Ika comics Naruto got him for his birthday. Actually, Naruto didn't even have to pay for them. After many well-placed pouts, he was able to get Jiraiya to throw them in for free. Naruto stood up on his toes and leaned forward to give his ex-sensei a peck on the cheek, seeing as his lips were covered up by his mask. Naruto giggled when he saw the blush spreading up and past the Junin's mask. Let's go back inside and let everyone know we've returned. Not to mention there's still the elimination ceremony. The Kyuubi vessel frowned at the thought he would have to kick out another one of his friends. Dinner was quick, seeing as the men were eager to see who would be eliminated. After a speedy meeting between the Uke advisor and Uke squad, the Seams were in the familiar room with, this time, 12 ramen cups laid out upon the customary red-clothed table. Naruto, tired and wanting to go to bed, wasted no time. He lifted up the first ramen cup of the night randomly and called out, Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke's confessional. Hell yes. Called first. Take that, Aniki. Sasuke smirked smugly at his nonchalant-looking brother, accepted his ramen cup and pecked Naruto on the cheek, clearly remembering to do no more thanks to last night's occurrence. The blonde blushed and rubbed his cheek. That felt nice, he thought, but quickly returned to the subject at hand. The next to be selected was Shikamaru Nara. The genius, troublesome, Ed, and everyone rolled their eyes at his common behavior. But when he accepted the cup he whispered into the blonde's ear, the very good kind of troublesome. Naruto giggled and swatted him away playfully. The 9 other men came up to receive their cups as well, including Kakashi, Kiba, Rock Lee, Gaara, Itachi, Shino, Choji, Neji, and Sai. Only Kankuro and Asuma remained. The blonde sighed. Kankuro, Naruto began. You're a great guy, but I'm not entirely sure that we know each other enough from past experiences to actually form a relationship. Kankuro nodded. Kankuro's confessional. I know I don't know him that well. But I've had the hots for him ever since the Chunin exams. I even told him I liked him, but I don't think he understood my implications with that. So yeah, I don't know him that well, but I don't really care. I really want that blonde. Asuma, the blonde turned to the burly man, feeling unbelievably tiny compared to his massive size. Out of all the people here, He gestured towards the seams. You're the oldest. And I have no problem with age gaps, but ours is really big. And I know you even less than I know Kankuro, but you're still a good guy, so I'll admire you for that. Asuma's confessional. Shrugged. Nothing I can do now. I'll just wait for his decision. So, Naruto sighed, I choose. He lifted up the cup to reveal. Suspense. Kankuro's name. The crowd gasped and the puppet master pumped his fist into the air. Yada. See ya later, old man. He stuck his tongue out at Asuma, grabbed his cup after hugging the blonde breathless, and returned to his post next to Gaara. The quivering brunette next to him made Gaara want to kill his brother all the more. Asuma hugged the blonde and whispered, no hard feelings, eh. He waved goodbye to his friends, and took his leave. The servants already packed his bags, so his luggage was waiting for him beside the door. Bye Asuma. In bedroom 3. HMPH, puppet turd. You're so lucky. Gaara muttered. HN. Kankuro ignored his younger brother's cruel words and continued to ponder. He shrugged off Gaara's death glare. And Shino's rough shove to the bed he was lying on. He lied flat down on his back with his hands behind his head as support. As the lights in the bedroom were turned off, Kankuro turned his head to look out the window and gaze at the stars. Kankuro's confessional. I don't want to be in the bottom 2 anymore. If I want to win this competition against all these pretty boys, I need get my act together. He trailed off as sleep claimed him for the night. Naruto was scarfing down his breakfast at an inhuman rate, causing the rest of the occupants in the dining room to stare. God. Sai muttered. Is he even chewing? Kakashi made sure to sit close to the blonde in case he needed CPR. Kakashi's confessional. Wait, isn't CPR for drowning people? Then what's for choking people? Oh yeah, Heimlich maneuver. But that means no lip-on-lip contact. Whine, pout, ponder, shrug, never mind. It's kinky all the same. As the men finished their breakfast, they looked towards Naruto expectantly. The blonde beamed at the blushing men. I guess you should all go to your rooms. I'll meet you all later, okay? The Seams looked disappointed. They weren't looking forward to returning to their assigned rooms to spend God knows how long with their distasteful roommates. Except Kakashi, of course. Naruto, sensing their sadness, quickly added, gosh, I was just joking. You thought our asses were really gonna spend the rest of the competition in this old mansion. The men immediately brightened up. Just go upstairs for now, okay? The blonde sighed. The men obediently retired to their rooms. And so early in the morning. As the Seams reached the loft to where their rooms all meet up, and they were forced to go their separate ways, yet something caught Sasuke's eye on the stand. An envelope. The young Uchiha looked at the envelope. The fuck? Ultimate Uket Mail. Well, at least it said Ultimate Uket Mail, that is before someone suspiciously and hastily crossed out the label and wrote in sloppy, rushed handwriting, Supreme Seam Mail. TCH, stupid Dobie. Sasuke, being a fan of many reality TV bachelorette shows, knew to call out. Ultimate Uket Mail. The men turned their heads towards the hollering Uchiha. Was the thought that crossed all their minds. Sasuke raised the envelope, and they all understood. They crowded around him as he opened the envelope and gazed at the letter. He began to read aloud. Dear Seams, he ignored the ukes that was scrawled in by a disgruntled blonde. I hope you really weren't thinking that I was going to keep you locked up in there for the rest of the day. I'm too energetic to stay cooped up for long. Anyways, guess what? Your first competition will be held today. I need to make sure I have a cunning and athletic man by my side. So, get ready and meet me at Ridgeway Park at noon, okay? See ya then. Naru-chan. P.S. Don't forget your running shoes and water bottle. Sasuke, along with the other Seams, stared at the note in confusion. Running shoes and water bottle. What does he mean by that? Kankuro and Choji glanced nervously at each other. They were the two most out of shape amongst the men. Were they up to this? They retired to their rooms to think of a plan. Gaara scoffed. There was nothing in this competition that his san couldn't handle. He took his leave as well. Shikamaru gazed wearily at the note. TCH, this will certainly be troublesome. He left to his room to watch the clouds from his window. They always helped him clear his mind. Surely his genius would find a way to get out of this troublesome assignment. The rest of the men left as well, oddly silent, as they pondered what the blonde could possibly mean by his message. Whatever it was, it couldn't be that bad. Naruto was the kindest person to have ever touched their lives. There wasn't a mean streak in his body. Sure, he can throw in a prank every now and then, but they were sure he wouldn't put them in danger for the soul sake to prove their love and devotion to him. Right. Oh, how wrong they were. In bedroom 1. What are you gonna wear, Lee? Kiba asked the overzealous Nin, while pointedly ignoring Shikamaru. My usual outfit, of course. The tightness of the spandex makes it easy for me to move and will show off my bulging muscles. Ga guy. Sensei W would be so, sob, p proud. At the though of his sensei's unfair elimination, the taijutsu master began to bawl unceremoniously. Shikamaru turned away from his cloud watching to look at the taijutsu specialist blankly. He then scoffed in something akin to pity and disgust as he returned to his previous task of think up a plan to remove himself from the day's competition without disqualifying himself from this overall tournament. He sighed. In bedroom 2. Which one d'ya think the blonde'll like? Sai muttered to himself holding up 2 identical belly shirts to the mirror. Neji and Sasuke stared at him inquisitively. Talking to himself. Sai's confessional. Having no one to converse with in that lonely room can really do things to a man, shudder. In bedroom 3. Okay Kankuro, pull yourself together. They're only glaring at you because they know you're the only one that stands a chance in this competition. Hee, they're so jealous. The puppeteer continued to think reassuring thoughts to himself, but Gaara and Shino's dirty looks never wavered. In bedroom 4. What are you doing? Choji asked his roommate. Dear God, how strange can a person get? Itachi looked up from his task and curtly replied as if it was the most obvious thing in the world, getting ready of course. Aren't you supposed to be, packing water, finding clothes, etc., etc. Instead of. Itachi rolled his eyes as he applied a new coat of paint to his dark fingernails. Doing your nails. Choji finished his sentence. Itachi scoffed. That's what everybody else is doing. I want to be unique. He chirped. Choji's confessional. The fuck? You're more than unique enough already, Uchiha Itachi. Choji watched as Itachi beamed at the compliment, and began his third coat. More than enough. In bedroom 5, Kakashi sighed as he plopped himself down ungracefully on his overly large bed. It seems that he had pushed the 2 beds of his former roommates Asuma and Guy together with his own to form an unreasonably huge mattress. Seeing as it was now his room, after Asuma's elimination and his brief mini-celebration, he used a rusty kunai to scratch out the description of bedroom 3 feet carved in the wood outside his door and instead wrote, Kaka's pad. He had so many Ika pictures and posters around his room, they might as well be considered wallpaper. He tossed his clothes and other personal belongings around the confinement. He bombarded the private bedroom 5 bathroom with countless hair products. He had a drawer more than prepared to burst open with fan mail. And his pad was littered with 32 naughty magazines, 12 familiar orange books, 9 broken alarm clocks, and 1 out-of-date dirty calendar. He smiled as he took sight of his room. It was just like home. 12 o'clock noon. 11 men waited patiently at Ridgeway Park for any source of direction or instruction to arrive. Uruka appeared in front of the men with a resonating pop. He had his familiar clipboard in hand. Hey guys. Welcome to your first challenge. We can't immediately give away our pleasant surprise, he chuckled. Because that would be no fun now, would it? The men nodded. Well, come on. Naruto was never known for his patience. The men walked for about half a mile before stopping at an extremely familiar setting. Oh hell no. Why the hell would Naruto bring us here for our first challenge? The Seams gazed up at the dark, formidable woodland. Shivers ran down their spine as they observed the jutting roots and hell-bent branches of the moss-covered trees whose trunks seemed to sneer cruelly down upon them. The thick swaying branches of the untamed thickets blocked out the sunlight to cast a large intimidating shadow over the area, making the atmosphere appear all the more gruesome. It definitely looks 10 times more perilous since the Chunin exams. They certainly didn't guess Naruto would bring them back to someplace like the Forest of Death. What the fuck are we doing here? Kiba called out. You're here for your challenge, silly. Iruka ruffled his hair playfully as he used to do in the old academy days, seemingly unaware of the frightening background. Challenge? Right, Kiba muttered, jerking away from the kind gesture that made him feel admittedly young. Iruka only smiled. If you'll once again follow me, he headed off towards a large wooden entranceway that lead into the forest. Once the men were all inside the woods, Iruka effortlessly closed the heavy doors with a bam. And chuckled evilly at the group. The men were all heavily unnerved, because needless to say, an evilly cackling Iruka is never a good thing. Suddenly, Naruto appeared, his infamous fox-like grin plastered on his face. Ah, how cute. The men inwardly cooed, taking no notice to the mischievous glint in the boy's eye. Now, he curtly began, I hope you all used your time wisely and, at this time, unsurprisingly, the Yuke's former sensei came bustling through the gates, sweaty and panting. Naruto sighed. Naruto's confessional. Some things just never change. You're late. Naruto grinned at the old familiar saying. Gee Gomen. He panted. There was this old lady. Naruto raised his hand, cutting off the Junin. I don't want to hear it. Just get your tardy ass in line. Kakashi pouted under his mask. No one ever believes him. Kakashi's confessional. My alarm clock broke, mysteriously. Okay. Naruto continued to where he left off before he was interrupted. I hope you all used your time wisely and got ready for this challenge. Choji glanced at Itachi. Even though it is the first, I assure you, this will be the most difficult task I might ask of you during this competition. The men looked queasy. Now, he began to talk louder, seeing as there was a lot of noise coming from the other side of the gate from which they had just passed. Before we start, I must legally inform you of the dire consequences of accepting this challenge. Naruto's voice grew even louder as the high-pitched noise emitted from the other side of the large wooden door. No doubt this had something to do with the challenge. This seems to be the only legitimate place we can hold such a challenge seeing as the needs. He gestured towards the other side of the gate and spoke even louder since the noise was increasing exponentially in volume. For this challenge, cannot be allowed anywhere else, under grievous fear that our needs will cause serious damage and mental trauma. The seams shuddered. Naruto's voice was yelling now and the men could barely hear him, seeing as the noise and ruckus from the other side was now near deafening. I almost wasn't allowed to give you all this challenge by the elders of Konoha. Naruto screamed to the group. They were worried about your welfare, but I told them you were strong. You were ninjas. You could take anything. The men looked doubtful as the ungodly noise refused to cease. But under law, the blonde scoffed and rolled his eyes. I need to warn you about the possible aftermath for many of you. Cerulean eyes scanned a previously pulled out text and the blonde coughed into his fist before reading in his authoritative voice, possible perilous outcomes from the Uket-gur. I told them I'm not a fucking Uke. He breathed in and out to calm himself down and continued, challenge number 1 includes, but is not limited to the following. The men listened on. Broken bones, internal bleeding, damaged senses. The men gulped. First, second, and third degree burns, frostbite, 193 possible bone fractures and sprains. Ouch. What could cause burns and frostbites? It's only September, not that cold. Large, possibly lethal gashes, cuts and wounds that could cause hardy scarring. Scars. Itachi winced. Ew. Hemorrhages, heavy bruising, acute or chronic amnesia, and as a self-defense mechanism of the body congenital insensitivity to pain. Oh God. Likely kidnapping, AIDS, HIV and other STDs as possible outcomes of rape. The fuck? Oh holy. and in an unfortunate case, death. Naruto sighed as he finished off the list. His cobalt blue eyes locked onto the fearful ones of the seams. So, ya ready? He asked perkily, the ominous shadow over the men doing nothing to diminish his glowing brightness. The men, forgetting their fear, gazed at the cute blonde. Yet, the more logical at this moment, like Kankuro, simply turned away from the pretty face and asked, Sue, just playing with the thought here. He coughed numerously. What if we quit? Naruto's brightness came to a halt. Well, he thought idly, there is an extremely high chance that you'll be eliminated if you don't even attempt the challenge, and I'll probably think a lot lower of you and never, ever see myself as being in any remotely romantic relationship with you, and will most likely look down upon you as a ninja and an overall individual for the rest of your miserable life, the blonde finished. Kankuro blinked and shuddered, as well as the other men. Oh, okay. Just asking. Of course I'm gonna do it. Kankuro gave a forced smile. Great. Naruto was beaming once again, and causing all hearts in the area to melt. So, anyone else wanna back out? He questioned, glaring at anyone who showed even the slightest sign of cowardice. Needless to say, he was glowering a lot. When no men showed any vocal signs of protesting, the blonde smiled warmly. Okay, good. Now, let's get this show on the road. Now, the blonde began, what you're basically having here is a race. Whoever makes it to the other side of the forest of death by sunset first, wins, he thought for a moment. Naruto's confessional. What do they win? A date? No, not yet. You win, he pondered, my favoritism. The seams cheered. And if you come in last, you'll more than likely get eliminated. The men's faces became solemn. What's the trick? The Byakugan user asked. This seems too simple, there has to be something else to it. Well, Naruto grinned evilly at the white-eyed boy's remark. That's where all that noise, he gestured towards the gates that were now rattling with the force of whatever was on the other side, comes in. A tremor washed over the crowd of seams. Well, let's start this now. I'm bored. Me and Aruka are gonna be taking the short route, so we'll meet the winner soon, yeah. The men nodded. Aruka and Naruto left with a pop. Strong, muscled, heavy men appeared behind the seams. The five of them set their large calloused hands over the gate that divided the male contestants from whatever was on the other side of their only separation. As the heavy gates began to slowly open with a continuous itchy creak, the men's curiosity grew, and even when the race began, they stayed glued to the spot by a young ninja's blatant inquisitive nature. An unhealthy habit that will surely be the death of them all. Itachi's confessional. Something in me doesn't feel right. My instincts are trying to get me to leave while I still can, but this morbid curiosity has me stuck to the spot. Never have I felt such overwhelming feelings, except when staring in the mirror. This doesn't seem good. The doors were now wide open. The seams met their obstacle. Their fear. Itachi's confessional. Doesn't seem good at all. The men gasped in fright, using every ounce of strength their shinobi-amplified bodies possessed just to keep from wetting themselves in sheer horror as the seriousness of the situation hit them full on as they stared at the greedy eyes beyond the gate. That last part sounded like a like from Fullmetal Alchemist, huh? 0. Oh hee hee. I couldn't help it. XD. FAFA fangirls. Oh, Sasuke. My. Neji. God. Itachi. Fangirls scattered the other end of the gate, and when their eyes met the men's, the seemingly unyielding noise came to a sudden halt and the entire forest was cast over by a deafening silence. Not even the little blue birdies in the horribly defaced trees made a peep. Won. OMG. $. And. Itachi. Sasuke. Uchiha. Neji. Baby. Let me open up your cage. Let me free your little birdie. Choji-sama. My ravenous man meat. I'm hungry. Rawr. The men bolted into the forest with such speed, the deranged girls were left choking in their dust, yet most of them seemed overjoyed at the mere thought of being smothered to death by the dirt that their future husbands touched. Needless to say, the determined, more obsessed fangirls, easily avoided the soil and choking competition, and went straight after the bunch of fleeing, terrified, gay men. With Choji. Oh god. How long have I been running now? 2. 3 days. Cough. Cough. 7 minutes. The sun is boiling my blood and scorching my skin. Sneeze. Sneeze. Only September. About 70 degrees Fahrenheit, countless droplets of perspiration roll down my back, and my innards are on fire. Man meat. Don't leave. Why are you running? The leader of the group screams and she has agreement with the 20 other girls that are following her. Choji's eyebrows scrunched together in bafflement. Man meat. Let us play with your large sausage. Choji, with renewed vigor and an never-before-seen burst of speed, continued the race, in hopes of meeting the blonde on the other side of the forest relatively unharmed. Ha! Fat chance. Pun intended. With Itachi. Fangirls. He rocked himself back and forth and recalled the first day he ever met the world-certified most loathsome creatures. Itachi's flashback. 5-year-old Itachi was playing with his paper shurikens in the Uchiha Manor's garden. After his pregnant with Sasuke mother brought him a quick snack, he asked her why he couldn't have real shurikens, like the older boys. She patted him on the head. Big boy shurikens are very dangerous, and if you make a mistake, you might scar up that pretty face of yours. She cooed to him gently, unaware that it was these kinds of remarks that would send the boy spiraling into an endless pit of constant self-divinity and utter pride years later. He blushed and smirked at the compliment. She was so smart when it came to these things. Have fun with your origami shurikens, nay, Itachi-chan. Ah. He nodded as he continued to play long after she left. He pitied the fool who would come upon him with an evil chakra or wicked intent. Shoot. His self-made shurikens could cause some serious paper cuts, damn it. Yet when this pre-mentioned evil chakra, wicked intent came in the form of a cute 4-year-old girl, the boy merely ignored her as the young, yet not so innocent, leered at him openly. He gave her one of his fiercest glares, but she seemed unfazed. When the number of girls continued to grow, the leering and hungry looks spanned exponentially, and the subtle touches became more obvious and suggestive. Itachi had learned that day, only after spending 30 minutes with those fangirls whose pervertedness reached an all-time high, causing them to ruthlessly attack him, only being saved when his mother heard his screams and shooed the vicious females away with a broom. Paper shurikens don't come in handy when you're dealing with shudder fangirls. End Itachi's flashback. A quiet sob racked his body as the memories of their vicious groping and lipstick-smeared kisses evaded his mind once again. He heard the loud stomping of the stampede getting closer and he felt close to crying. Yet as he looked down into a mossy puddle and saw his distorted yet ethereally beautiful reflection mirroring in the tiny pool, his gallantry replenished and his heart of spirit was renewed. Those girls. Those fucking fangirls. He would not let their filthy, undeserving hands touch his angel-envied face. No. He began running as far as his legs would take him, because to him at that moment he was not competing with the other seams for the vivacious blonde, but rather with vicious females for his perfectly beautiful self. In the end of this, he might die, but damn it. He would die a pretty man. With Shikamaru. The lazy nin panted as he ran and ran and ran. This was taking forever, and the lewd comments and rivaling arguments coming from behind weren't really much help. Shika. That's it, baby. Shake for me. You idiot. He's not shaking, he's running. From your ugly face. Ha ha. That was such a stupid joke, Yuki. Was not. HMPH. I bet it was because he met you, he's running around thinking he's gay. Gosh. You get on my fucking nerves. Whatever. Great comeback. Shika, wait up. I have this new untroublesome dance I made that we could try out, maybe. I call it, the Shika Shake. The Shika Shake. The fuck. When in an uncomfortable or troublesome situation, begin to bargain. Shikamaru muttered under his breath to himself, remembering that he kept that piece of information, along with much else, stocked inside his enormous brain. Bargaining it is. He shrugged and hopped into a tree to back trace his steps and find the fangirls. Yes, you heard right. Find them. Once he reached the bickering women, they immediately stopped quarreling to gaze in awe and whimper. Shikamaru said Nin, realizing their state of silence would only be temporary and the vicious glomping would come soon after, immediately put his plan into action. Meanwhile, with Naruto. Damn it Konohamaru, Moegi, Undan. The blonde fumed, his face was lobster red in anger, and an undeniable wrathful chakra emitted from every pore of his being. Yet this all went unnoticed to the three laughing their ass off genins. I am not a fucking uke. He kicked Konohamaru in the head. OWWW. Konohamaru whined, wrapping his hands protectively around his abused head. Serves you right, Iruka-sensei. Tell Konohamaru-chan that this whole fucking thing is not called the uket. Naruto. Iruka sighed, watch your language. I think it should be called Supreme Seam, Naruto suggested, ignoring his sensei's request to quit with the cursing, or maybe, no definitely. Sexy Seam. Oh yes. Naruto, there is no way you'll ever be Seam in any relationship. Iruka pointed out offhandedly. The blonde spluttered. What? Iruka-sensei. Naruto was very hurt. I'm sorry Naruto, but have you looked in the mirror lately? You're lean and skinny, you've got too many feminine features, and when watching any two men kissing, you always scream, oh my g. So cute. You're an uke if I've ever seen one. Naruto flamed up in anger. No, you're an uke Iruka-sensei. You have all the qualities. You're not tough. Too nice. Always. Before he could continue, Iruka cut him off. I know I am. Unlike some people, I do not live my life in denial. I accept what I am and make the best of it. The blue-eyed boy knew a losing battle when he saw one. But that never stopped him before. Yeah, Konohamaru agreed, you couldn't even be on top with a girl. Naruto's confessional. 1. I would never be with a girl, and 2. If I was, how could I not be on top? Iruka laughed. Naruto. He mocked the voice of a teenage girl, I think we're ready. Then he mocked Naruto. I'm sorry but I don't work well with strap-ons. The blonde blushed and the rest of the group laughed as they waited for the challenge to be complete. So, Yuki's eyes beamed with hope, if we let you go. You're saying that you will give us a lock of Itachi-sama's hair. 2 of Neji-sama's meditation candles, 1 of your earrings, a chip of Kiba's fang, half of Rock Lee's left eyebrow, 3 Ikas that were touched by the hands of Kakashi, 1 of Sasuke-sama's kunais, 400 grams of Konkuro's face paint, 342 grains of Gaara's sand, 460% eaten potato chips from Choji, 18 pieces of thread from Sai's favorite belly shirt and a right wing from one of Shino's chakra-sucking insects, am I correct? She sighed in happiness. Shikamaru rolled his eyes. 30 minutes and this is his bargain. How troublesome. Yeah, and when will you be delivering this to us? Asked Star, a girl with unnatural purple eyes in the back. Tomorrow. The girls grouped together and pondered for a good 10 minutes. Deciding that they could trust their idol, agreed with his terms. Okay. He began directing as soon as the agreement was official. I want you to all divide into groups of 2. When you are, take this map, he handed it to Star, and find the rest of the men. If my calculations are correct, the key at the bottom shows approximately where each man is, how fast they're traveling, what road they're planning on taking, and where their fangirls are located. They females nodded. Good luck. And with that, Shikamaru took off to complete his challenge with ease, no longer having to worry about any rabid fangirls trailing after him. Naruto clapped his hands in glee as a frightened, yet determined Itachi came in first place. Yet the Uchiha could have sworn his number of fangirls increased during the race. After him was Shikamaru, then Kakashi, Sasuke, Neji and Rock Lee. After them in 5th place came Gaara and Kiba, who was closely followed by 7th place Shino. Sai and Konkuro were panting heavily yet made it to the end as well. Their rabid, foaming at the mouth fangirls were detained and some of the more determined ones had to be put out with anesthetic and needles. And while all the men conversated on how they made their courageous journey, yet Naruto could only wonder. Where's Choji? The large boy was hospitalized after he was found unconscious and lipstick smeared hanging in a tree by his underwear-like headband, 2 hours later. Poor man. The men were talking about how they all overcame their greatest fear. I just went through a bunch of messed up branches, Kiba said, nodding proudly. Their hair got stuck on those tree limbs. So they were screaming while swinging back and forth, calling out for me to help them. PSSH. I left those broads so fast. How'd you do it, Shino? Kakashi asked the stoic boy. Bugs. TCH. So simple. Gaara muttered. I killed them. Shocked faces. Why are you here, Kankuro? I would have expected you to be in that fat ass's place. Gaara muttered. Kankuro glared at his younger brother. Why won't he leave him alone? Well, I'm not Gaara, so you can shove it. The puppeteer shouted, finally losing his cool. The men's previous shocked expressions were nothing compared to their now stunned expressions. Did Kankuro big scaredy cat brother Kankuro just tell Gaara fifth cage of sand, Shukaku's vessel, and ultimate badass Gaara to shove it? Gaara didn't even bat an eyelid, but his eyes remained on something in Kankuro's pocket. Curious, the elder Sand brother gazed down at his pants to see the tip of a paper sticking out. Before he could shove it hastily from the redhead's view, Shino, who was standing in the back and watching the entire encounter, pulled it out to view with inhuman speed. Gaara grabbed the note from the bug lover's hand and opened it up to find a love note. As Gaara and Shino's eyes followed the lines of the paper, Kankuro blushed as their eyes leaked with unhidden amusement. Shino smirked. I didn't know he makes your loins quiver at the mere thought of the two of your bodies intertwined. And what the fuck is this? Gaara sneered. What the hell is wrong with your spelling? Kankuro looked confused. Why is the in I love you at the end backwards? He looked disgusted at his older brother's lack of education. It's supposed to be CCC cute. Kankuro stuttered. He was mortified. Gaara stared at his brother. You think ignorance is cute? He glared at the quivering puppeteer, yet even though he was glowering up at him, Kankuro never felt so small. Well, I guess mental retardation is downright adorable. You need to quit this competition and stay away from Naruto. Do you understand? Gaara pushed his brother for emphasis. Kankuro said nothing. He wrote that note in hopes of Naruto would understand him better and they could get to know each other. But all hopes were thrown out the window when Gaara found the letter. How is anyone going to believe you can love Naruto when you can't even fucking spell it? Gaara chuckled at his inwardly sobbing brother. How old are you? Gaara barked. 20. Kankuro couldn't even finish his 20, before Gaara began mocking him once again. Too damn old to be writing your E's backwards, damn it. The men watching the entire scene and laughed. Gaara has a sense of humor. Now one thing Kankuro would like to make clear about himself is that he is not weak. He is just overly sensitive, and that's no reason for Gaara to treat him the way he does. He thought that his fear of his younger brother would diminish over the years, but it only grew worse. Gaara, you can take that note. The brunette snatched the note back from Gaara's hand, and shove it up your ass. He tore up the letter for emphasis and threw the ripped pieces at the cage. I shouldn't have to deal with this anymore. You're not going to keep me out of this competition, you hear me? By the end of this, your ass will be back up at your office in sand and I'll be in Naruto's fucking pants. And I'll love love it if you even try to pull that sand voodoo shit on me because it'll give me a reason to take you out once and for all. Though we all doubt this. Gaara simply blinked and then smirked. Kankuro, having an odd feeling in his gut, turned around to see Naruto's face, pale as a sheet and his eyes burning with anger. Gaara is a very close friend to the blonde, closer than Kankuro has ever been, and his precious virgin ears hearing all of that. Well, it was too much for him. Kankuro. His voice growled out. Kankuro's confessional. Oh. This is not happening. Well, we just came here to tell everyone that you should please be in order. Iruka told the men, still shocked at Kankuro's out-of-character rant. The elimination ceremony is about to begin. The men all blinked. Now, Sai voiced these thoughts. Yeah well, Naruto began, his eyes never leaving Kankuro. I'm tired and I don't want to deal with one at home, so let's just do it here. Where I have all the day's occurrences still fresh in my mind. Kankuro gulped. The three genins carried in the familiar table along with the common cups. Naruto wasted no time in picking up a cup and shouting out the challenge winner's name. Itachi. Itachi accepted his cup and Naruto went on to cup number 2. Shikamaru. And so on went all the names Neji, Rock Lee, Kiba, Shino, Gaara, Sai, Kakashi, and Sasuke. Until only Kankuro and Choji's cup remained. Well, Naruto sighed. I hope it's not too difficult to see why these two names are here. Kankuro sighed. He could only hope Naruto would let him tell his side of the story first, before making any rash decisions. Choji because he lost the challenge, and you, blue eyes locked onto brown, well, you know why you're here. Naruto huffed and turned away from the puppeteer. Choji was still in the hospital so Kankuro felt kind of odd being the only one in the crowd without a clock. He felt isolated, ostracized. So, I will have to give the final cup. Gaara smirked. This was so obvious. 2. Kankuro brought this upon himself. Choji. Kankuro's eyes went wide. This is not happening. Not happening. Oh, but it is. Kankuro fought the guards when he refused to leave peacefully. He put up quite a fight, but he was gone within 5 minutes. As all the men were about to leave, Naruto called out for Gaara to wait. The two were all alone at the edge of the forest of death. Gaara would have particularly preferred a more romantic setting, but this would do. His words, they didn't hurt too much did they, Gaara? The blonde's tone was gentle and concerned. Gaara smiled inwardly and replied with a false sad tone, Oh Naruto. He's been harassing me for so long. I don't know how I bared through it, but I did. The verbal abuse became so bad after I became Cage. He didn't even bother to hide his jealousy after my villagers began to accept me. But I never put one hand on him. I couldn't hurt him, no matter how persuasive Shukaku was becoming. He's my brother after all. He faked a couple of tears. Oh Gaara. Naruto rubbed his back gently before pulling him into a tight hug. You're so brave. Gaara smirked into Naruto's neck before continuing his speech with his perfected tragic voice. The wounds. They'll heal. If you help me, that is. Naruto nodded determined. I promise with my ninja way that I'll help you heal Gaara. Fluff 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 fluff. They cuddled until Iruka called them home. In bedroom 4. Choji returned from the hospital late at night and was now resting in his room with the Uchiha. That is until, creak, creak, wah, thump. Itachi woke up with a start to the loud noise. He turned to glance at his roommate only to find him sprawled on the floor with the remains of a broken bed. Choji quickly got up and looked at the bed in horror. What happened? He asked shocked. The bed broke. Itachi supplied simply. But how? You bought these beds, they should be new. The Uchiha nodded. Then maybe it was the foundation. Nah. Foundation doesn't break beds, or does it? Maybe it was the wood. Not sturdy enough. I don't get it. What could have happened? Without even having to turn around, Choji knew that his roommate was watching him the entire time, barely concealing his amusement, because Itachi really knew how the bed collapsed and knew that Choji was just in denial. Get your eyes offa me, Choji growled. The next morning, a lot of nins woke up to loudly exclaim how many of their precious items and physical traits were gone. Not to mention there were many happy fangirls and a very relieved shadow user. Anne. Kankuro's gone as you wanted. You all may be mad at Gaara in this chapter, or mad at me because I made him mean. But fear not, he will only be mean to Kankuro in this fic. I hope. I haven't decided yet. I will make fun of each character in this story so if you can't handle them being played with, you always have the option to stop reading. Challenge. If anyone knows where I got that whole scene with Gaara burning Kankuro with the love note, gets dedication in the next chapter. I think this challenge is a lot harder.